Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to teach on communicative grammar. What communicative grammar is all about, how we are going to communicate. When we are speaking to each other, we need grammar. Grammar is all about structure of sentences, how we are speaking, how we are using grammar. Grammar has tenses, grammar has articles, grammar has the sentence structure, the proper. You can't mix present tense with past tense. You can't mix present tense with past tense with future tense. We have to be careful when we are speaking. So grammar is very necessary when we are using our language. So we all know that grammar is the base of English language, and when we are using grammar, we should be very effective in using grammar. We all know that in grammar we have uses of different types of sentences. How are the sentences, like the interrogative sentence, the declarative sentence, imperative sentence, and exclamatory sentence. So with these, that's the basic of grammar. Now when we are communicating with grammar in English, we have to be very, very specific. First, when we are small, we know we know the different types of articles that come. We know that articles, how are articles used? Articles are used with vowels, consonant, and then articles. There are three types of articles: a, an, and the. So how the articles are being used and when it is being used. So article, we know that it is a and the, and in the basics we know that a is used for consonants and an is used for vowels, and the is when we tell something more specific. But sometimes there is a confusion that we are going to a school or the school, so that time it becomes very confusing. So that is the point when we start. Many times we tell that use the in front of proper noun. So when we tell use the in front of proper noun, sometimes in front of name of people also we start using proper noun. Like many times we write the Sachin Tendulkar. So the is not needed. The is not required in front of a particular name of a person. So that is how we should know that where and how we should use the articles. A and has a different meaning, and a and an are infinite, indefinite articles. It means that it depends on the sound on the beginning of the words. Now, many times we see that when we tell hour, like it, I have been taking lecture for 1 hour. We don't tell hour, we tell hour. So over there we use an. So that is how the first pronunciation. Many times we have words which are silent. So that is the time when we use the a and the an. So that makes a lot of difference. So we all know that this pronunciation or the phonics over here that is being used plays a very, very important role. So the sound itself tells us whether it's a vowel, consonant, or whether it is going to be a or an an. So many times, and this vowel system is very easy for all of us, we know, but there are some complication like hour, I told you. Next, university, we use a, because there is a sound of n coming in front, not the exact u vowel or the u sound that is coming. So when we have that u sound, y-o-u, so it becomes, so we put an. But many times house, we put house, it is like we put an a. But uncle, un. So again it is the u is coming in front, and uncle we put. So this is how we imply articles. Articles implication is very simple, but just you have to pay attention to the phonics. Now the next thing is that when we are using articles, we have to be very specific with the use of the and the is used when we are using a particular or a more specific things. Otherwise we don't. Like we tell in the morning, I am going to a school. You know which school you are going, so we tell I am going to the school. But in front of name like name of any school or name of any person, we do not use the. It is not necessary to use the at that particular time. Uh, with adjectives to refer and a whole group of these plurals, we use the. Like if we are telling the Japanese, the Chinese, the Indian, so these are specific. So in that particular place, use of nationality, we can use, you can use the also, and we can use, we do not use to need use the also. So the is very specific. When it is necessary, we use it, otherwise we do not use it. Next we come to verbs. What are finite verbs and what are infinite verbs? Finite verbs are when the act is a verb, and infinite is when the act is not as a verb. It is defined. Like finite verb, it is telling, it is the work you are doing is the verb, but in infinite verb, the work that you are doing does not, the word is not being used as a verb. Like the first one, I tell you they got home late at night. So got is a verb. Okay, so next, if I am giving an example of infinite verb, I tell some words do not act as a verb. Like sailing is my favorite sport. So sailing over here is not acting as a verb, it is acting as a noun. So that is how we tell that what is acting, the verb is acting as actual verb or it is not acting as a verb. Act as the main verb clause. Main verb clause is I live in Germany. I give the example, and sometimes it is acting as a noun, adjectives or verbs. The sleeping cat is brown. Now the sleeping cat, it is an adjective also. It can be used, the sleeping is a verb, but over here it can be used as an adjective also. But over there I live in Germany or I live in India is like it is being used as a proper verb. Indicate person, number and tense. She was waiting in the room before she came in. She was waiting over here in the room before he came in. So we indicate the person also and the tense also. We are using continuous, past continuous tense. So that is where we are using it as a number also, tense, and indicating the person also. Do not indicate. She tiptoed around the house as not to wake up anyone. Now it does not indicate anyone or any particular person. So over here it can be infinite verb, can be used as present tense also and past tense also. But over here it is used as participles where we use to understand, to write, to, where we use to, it becomes a participle. Appear in a decent independent clause. Appear in a infinitive or a principle or a clause. So this is how it differs. So finite verb is mostly, the verb remains is mostly being used as a verb only. It is used as an action word where we see the people are doing the action, the subject is doing different type of action. But in infinite verb, the verb is not actually being used as a non-finite verb. It is changing with the use of sentence. So that is how you can differentiate between verbs, finite verbs and infinite verbs. Infinite verbs remains as the action words only, but infinite verbs change into different ways. And for when the verb is a doing word or an action word, it is doing something or the action is being continued, which can change into tenses. But when we are using it as a non-finite verb, we do not, it is not necessary that we see the tense. We can use as any other type of parts of speech except the verb or the action word. Now there are different when it is always known that when we are speaking, or we need to structure our sentences very well. When we speak, suppose even if we are writing English, or if we are speaking, we need to keep our sentence structure always correct. Sentence structure is very much important, because we have to keep in mind the tenses, how we are using the tenses. Many times what happens, when we start writing something, we mix up things. Means we forget whether we start with the past tense, we continue with the present tense, and then we end with the future tense. So it all get mixed up. So it becomes very difficult. It is always told that in English, when you are writing a paragraph, speech, or drafting a report, the tense should remain the same throughout. It should not change abruptly anywhere. So that is how you should know that it should remain the same always. Now, when you are writing the sentences, we should always write very simple sentences which does not have any type of jargons. Jargons means languages which people do not understand. We should write easy and simple language which people can easily understand, and which people can interpret or decode very, very easily. Now, when we start the basics of grammar, we always start with sentences. The basic of grammar always starts with sentences. Now, when we tell about sentences, it is many types. We have huge types of sentences, but the basic 4 types of sentences what we are writing is, the first is declarative sentence. When you are declaring any type of action, it is known as declarative sentence. Like you tell, I am going to the school. It is declaration. You are just giving a statement. The person has to hear it. Person doesn't give a judgment. Person doesn't give an answer. They are just listening to what you are doing. My mother is cooking, or the class is going on very well. I have not finished my notes. So all these are declarative, where you declare something that you are doing, or you have done, or the people around you are doing. Next is interrogative sentence. Interrogative sentence is when we are questioning someone, when we have a question for a particular person or a particular people. Now, interrogative is like, what are you doing? We all know that it is the WH words like which, what, how. All these are used when when we question how, or even we can use is, can, are you going to the college, can I come and sit beside you, is there a class today in the college or in the university. So all these continues to be the same. So over here, interrogative sentence is when we are questioning a particular person. Next is imperative sentence. Imperative sentence is a statement which gives you a command, like go out of the class, stand up, sit down, pick up the phone, close the door. So these are short. Imperative sentences are very short, and from the structure of the sentence we come to know that it is some order is being given to you. You just have to follow the order. So that is how imperative sentences are being structured. Next is exclamatory sentence. Exclamatory are the expressive feeling that we have in ourselves, a different type of feeling that tells us about that that we come to know, or that recently, as there was a blast yesterday, and everybody was in a shock. So there was this extreme feeling is known as, when you write exclamatory sentence, it has a very complete different feeling. It is not like the normal feelings. Okay, so either you use oh my god, or we use bravo, like bravo, India has won the match, or alas, so many people have died. So these are different type of exclamation. Oh my god. So all these are different type of exclamation, and it is used in the beginning of the sentence. All these different types of exclamation with the exclamatory mark is used in the beginning of the statement, and then the statement is given, like oh, alas, bravo, oh my god, I've got hurt. So all these things where you give, where your feeling is not just the normal one, you have an extra feeling where you are speaking more through the feeling, those are known as exclamatory sentence. So in grammar you have these four basic type of sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative and exclamatory, which tells you about the which is very normal and which tells you about the different how you are, and these are very simple structure of sentences. After this there are, we think that after this we don't have to learn sentences, but we have simple sentence, compound sentence and complex sentence also. Then we have superlative sentence, interrogative sentence, active and passive voice, subject and predicate of the sentence. So, and then assertive and negative sentence. We have a lot of sentences that are there in grammar. Now when we are using sentence, or many times we change sentences, like from active to passive, as a affirmative to negative. So we have a thing like changing the sentences. But when we are changing the sentences, we should keep in one thing in mind, that our the meaning of the sentence should not change. If the meaning of the sentence changes in the sentence, or when you are changing the sentence to a different type, what happens? It becomes a wrong sentence. Whenever you are, I am going to school is a positive sentence. When you are writing a negative sentence, you cannot tell that I am not going to school. The meaning changes. The positive sentence tells that I am going to school, but the negative sentence tells that I am not going to school, but it has two different meanings. So it becomes wrong. So in assertive and affirmative sentence, affirmative is positive and negative sentence, when we are changing it, we should keep in mind that the meaning of the sentence does not change. Many of times we use opposites in the affirmative and negative sentences. Suppose we tell, this work is only done by foolish men. So this is a positive sentence because it does not have don't, can't, do not, in, neither, not. No, nothing is there in the sentences. Only foolish people can do this work. So this type of sentence is a proper sentence, but it is an affirmative sentence because it does not have any negative factor in it. So when we are changing it, we write, no wise man will do this work. So we are using the opposite of foolish in this particular sentence. Okay, so in active and passive sentence also, we change the subject and the predicate. We change the position of the subject and the predicate. Like the teacher is giving a lecture. Now the teacher is the subject, is giving a lecture is the predicate. So when we are changing it, we change it. The lecture is given by the teacher. So we bring the object in the front and we take the subject at the end. So that has how. But the main thing is that the meaning does not change. If the meaning is changing, the sentence structure changes and it becomes wrong. It becomes completely wrong. Next we have simple sentence. Simple sentence is where we use simple language, like the boys are going to the park. It contains one subject and one predicate. Like the boys are going to the park. Are going to the park is the predicate, and the boys are the subject. So that is normal sentence that we maybe we speak day to day, but we maybe also be speaking compound sentences and complex sentences, which we tend to mix up. Now, what is complex and compound sentence? It contains two or more independent clause, and it is more easy if you want to understand how to change a compound sentence. Many times clauses become very difficult for us to identify. So that time we always find a relating factor, that is a conjunction in it. When we know the conjunction is being used, then it becomes a compound sentence. A compound sentence always has a linking factor of a conjunction in it. So I tell, the boys went to the park but did not go to the tuition or did not go to school. So we are adding a and or a particular type of conjunction to join two different things. So that time, like and, but, yet, neither, nor, either, or. So all these types are used in compound sentence. Complex sentence, what happens, it contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. Dependent clause begins with subordinative conjunction. Many times we use it with subordinating conjunction like because, after, before, although, when, since, if, whether the boys are going to the park, or they will be going to the zoo, or after going to the park the boys will be going to the zoo. So these are known as complex sentences, where you have the clause and a subordinating conjunction like after, before, because, although, when, since, unless, though. So all these are used in the complex sentence in the beginning of a sentence. Next topic of this lecture is descriptive writing. Many times we write certain things, we give certain description of certain things. We write description of people. Now when we write descriptive writing, you are writing about the whole situation, or you are writing about the person, or a animal, or a non-living thing. So in descriptive writing you have to keep in mind, first thing, whom and what you are writing. Many times we have a problem of static sentences with I, she, he, it. It is wrong. We should not start a sentence with, or you should not start a writing or a paragraph or any descriptive writing with a pronoun. We should always start it with a proper noun, because first if we write she, we cannot identify about whom we are writing. So first we should keep in mind about what we are writing, like what or who we want to describe. Is it a non-living thing? Is it a living thing? But whatever it is, you have to write in the beginning only. What is the reason for the descriptive writing? Why you are writing the description? What is the reason? Are you giving certain facts? Are you giving certain information through it? So all these are a part of the description. So you have to keep in mind why you are writing and what is the reason behind this such type of sentences. What are particular qualities that you need to focus? Now, when we are writing about a living thing, we have many things in mind. What the person is. First we write whom we are writing about. So, suppose we take example of a cricketer. Okay, we write about Sachin Tendulkar. So we write Sachin Tendulkar. We do not write he. Now he is like, it will be a big question for whom are we writing about, because India is full of cricketers. So so we always write Sachin Tendulkar is one of the greatest, is the greatest cricketer of India. So we know. Now after that we write about like 1 or 2 lines. Then we write about his appearance. Appearance means how he looks. What are his special qualities? Is he a right hand batsman? Is he a left hand batsman? Is he a bowler? Is he a fast bowler? Is he a all rounder? So that specific things we write. Then what he really likes to do, his achievements, his works, his doings, his achievements, all these are mentioned in the descriptive writing. If you are writing about any animals, then also we use physical features. If you are writing about a ostrich, the ostrich is the largest bird, and then you start giving the physical appearance. Then maybe what the ostrich, what specific things they do, they are running fast, what food they like to eat, which countries we find. So we have to be we need small minute details about that person, what we have to write about them. Drafting a descriptive essay is very easy, but you have to keep in mind certain description and how you are developing them and how you are linking them. Now I told that if you are writing about Sachin Tendulkar, we can't write one sentence like he is the greatest batsman, he has a very small height. Then you write he has made 200 centuries. No, we can't write this. He has bowled in certain overs. He won the World Cup under so and so. He was the captain. No, this tells that we have not binded the language together, it becomes a problem. When you are writing a descriptive writing, we should bind things together. The thing should be linked together. You should write very specifically. There should be linking between the sentences properly. If the sentences are not being linked properly, then it becomes a big difficulty. Now, which details you need to give? What types of detail do you and when you are writing, like if you are writing about any normal person, your friend, your common friend, your best friend, your favorite teacher, it's okay. But if you are writing about some really big personality, like if you are writing about the PM Modi, or maybe the president of the country, or one of the best film stars of the country, so for them you need to have good collective data. You just cannot write any unnecessary things there, or any unwanted things. It becomes a great problem, because those people are very prominent in the society. Any wrong writings can create a problem for us only. So when you are writing, the facts and the details should be correct, and you should keep in mind that they are not creating unnecessary problem. But if you write about commoners, a little bit ups and downs, it is absolutely fine. And you should also have the emotional aspect of life. The emotional part of the life is very important. You should give a small emotional touch, because when you write something, it is told that the writing itself has you have to feel the writing. It is not that it's not linked together. Your words are not fitting in properly. So first thing in descriptive writing is that you make a rough draft. You see what writings are necessary, how you are writing, what words, what adjectives you are going to use for the person, what doing words are you going to use, and how more specifically the things are going to be interlinked with each other. So that is also important. So descriptive writing, first you should, and then you should link each other. The sentences should be small. You should start with a proper noun. You should not start with a pronoun. You should use proper adjectives. You should bind the sentences. You should know after the first line, what will be the second line, and how you are going to link in between each other is also very necessary. Rules for descriptive writing. Now, pay attention to details. You have to pay attention to minute details. If you are not paying attention to minute details, it becomes a major problem. Expand your vocabulary. Do not use many a times, even right from school to college, we have that habit of writing I am going to college, I am doing this, my mother is doing this, my mother loves to do this, my mother goes out. We repeat one word several times. No, that is absolutely wrong. When we are writing, repetition creates a major barrier. It already tells you that somewhere or the other, maybe your languages, you are not familiar with your vocabulary, or you don't know your vocabulary quite well. So it is very necessary that when you are writing a descriptive writing, you should expand your vocabulary very much. You should use adjectives properly, and you should turn and twist the sentences, not I am. It becomes very monotonous to hear. Sometimes you should use the sentence in a positive way. You write an affirmative sentence in a negative way, or we should mix and match everything, and then only it is going to be interesting. Otherwise it is not going to be interesting at all. It will become like it is going to be that same line that is being repeated again and again. Use words by creating mental image. We know when we study with the thought that studying is something very different from our lives, but it is not so. Studying is not absolutely different from our life. We should interlink studies with our normal environment. When we are interlinking studies with our normal environment, it becomes easy for us to learn things. It is easy for us to accept things, and easy for us that what we are going to link other. Whenever we are writing something, we don't think about it. we should think of the natural environment that is around us when we are writing, maybe about rainy days if you are writing, or the rains in Mumbai. If you are writing about rains in Mumbai, we think, oh my god, what am I going to write now? That is not necessary, because our environment tells us what words we speak. We can see the roads are flooded, so we can write the roads of Mumbai are flooded with dirty water. There is overflowing of water everywhere. That there is a lot of traffic. The traffic has increased due to the water level going up. So these are nothing that we need. This is nothing that we need something extraordinary knowledge for. You just have to see around, and when you are seeing around, you know what type of language you are using. When you are seeing around and you are thinking, then only your language will automatically come up. So you don't have to think so much. We just have to open our eyes and look around and the environment. Even when you are describing a scene or describing a person, what you necessarily do is to visualize them and to think about them in a normal way or in a natural way. And that is when your writing is going to come up. We can tell the clouds are dark, the darkness of the clouds have filled. The darknesses of the clouds have filled, have given a spell in Mumbai. It is raining heavily. The roads are flooded. So whenever we see, we know what adjective to pick up, and we best use the adjectives in our synonyms and antonyms. We can, instead of write happy, sad, we can write fun, mid, melancholy, unhappy. So there are different types of words. So for all these, we need the descriptive writing will be more effective when we are using a lot of vocabulary in it, a good vocabulary, a good use of language, more specifically a good bunch of words in it, and it is combined in a proper way, and it has a meaning that is sending out to the readers. So that is going to be really important. Many times what happens, we have an important aspect is comprehension. When it is a comprehension writing, comprehension becomes very, very difficult. We don't understand comprehension very easily. Why? Because we just look into the question. We don't tend to read the comprehension. We just look into the comprehension, what is happening in the comprehension. We just have a tendency of writing the answers faster. But we don't have a habit of reading the comprehension fast. We reading the comprehension thoroughly and many times. You have to read the passage fairly. Read the passage many times. Underline the difficult word. Just like finite and infinite verbs, it is told that one word can be used in different way. Beautiful is an adjective. Then writing beautifully, it becomes in a different form. So all these are like you have to know from the sentence also. We come to know that what is used. Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Is it an adjective? What is being used? Many a times it becomes very difficult for us to understand. Last we told that the sailing is my hobby. Now sailing, what do you have to tell sailing about? You are not understanding. Is it a noun? But when we read it twice or thrice, that is the time when we understand what is it more specifically about. Now in college, we don't get kiddish paragraphs. We don't get paragraphs that the school children get. We get a complicated type of paragraph, because nowadays we have things which generally has an inner meaning. So that inner meaning is very, very important. So if we are not reading it properly, we do not understand the inner meaning. So we should read it properly to understand what is the hidden meaning and what does the passage specifically wants us to tell. Now, when we are using the questions, we should use complete answers. Everything is hidden inside the paragraph itself. So, there is nothing outside the paragraph. So, whatever we are reading is from the paragraph itself. So, we should express our ideas clearly, read the paragraph properly, and give the answers in proper sentence. Many times what we do, we just write one-word answers. When we are writing one-word answer, it is very, very difficult to find out which question is related to, why is one word, and one word has a different section. Okay, like give one word, but when you are writing a question answer, you should specify this happened because the accident happened because of too much cracks in the road, or too much manholes in the road, or too much craters in the road. So we have to be very very specific. If we are not specific about it, it becomes very difficult for the examiner to understand what you have written. So it's very important that you write the answers in complete sentence. Do not use, if you have absence, use common languages. Do not use vague languages which makes your communication very very difficult. The meanings hidden in the sentence itself, this things are repeated, because whenever we read certain things, reading once may not make things easy for us, because at the college level things are really really difficult. So you have to read to find out what the inner meaning the person or the passage is trying to tell. So the basic thing is you have to read properly, you have to find the inner meaning, you have to frame your answers properly, and then you have to write down the sentence in a proper structure. Now, these are the basic things of communicative grammar. When we, through the writing, through speaking, through writing, we communicate. You are writing a letter, you are printing a job application letter. Now the letter itself is telling what they are having certain specification over there. So you are giving a communication, you are trying to communicate something, you are trying to tell something. Whenever you are writing a report, we are trying to tell something, we are trying to give some message out to the person. So it needs a communication ability has to be there. Some communication level of communication has to be there. So what level of communication is there is when you are using these things, this grammatical structure properly. With verb you have tenses related. So whenever you are using your verb, see that you are using the tenses properly. It is not that you are mixing up the tenses. If you are not writing the tenses properly, it becomes very difficult. So always remember that when you are writing the sentences also, the sentences should not be mixed up. It should have a proper structure of the sentence, a proper base of the sentence, what type of sentence, what do you want to say. Even in a sentence we have direct and indirect speech. When we are writing a report, over there we do not generally put in indirect speeches. We do not put direct speeches. We generally put indirect speeches. So what is happening? It is all related to each other. Indirect speeches where we put in a story, or when we are putting a quotation if someone has said that. So when you are trying to give out communication, you always use simple language. Use of pronouns, use of proper noun and pronoun. Proper noun and pronoun should be mixed. In between, you know what should be used. So that is also very very necessary. We don't mix up, and the sentence should have a proper structure. Suppose you are writing a statement, you want to write a declarative statement, but what happens, you automatically give something which is not related to it. It sounds like an imperative sentence, as if you are giving some order to someone. So it makes the sentence baseless. It makes the sentence completely out of the world or outside. So it is always necessary that when we are writing, we should do communication itself, means that your reading and listening and writing and speaking should be interlinked with each other. If it is not being interlinked with each other, then it is going to create a major problem itself. So it is very important for you to remember that increase your vocabulary, learn, always find synonyms, antonyms. Synonym, antonyms are always going to help you in whenever you are to increase your vocabulary. Know the adjectives well, their superlative, comparative, positive, comparative and superlative form. It is going to give like a bit of touch to the sentences, extra touch to those sentences, to improvise on those sentences. use or know the opposites. So when you know the opposites also, then you can use in a negative sentence, in a positive sentence, in a negative way. So all these will give you a proper base to understand, and that is the best way in which you can communicate, and you can use your grammar also.